Shalom uvracha. It's Thursday, Erev Shabbat. We're almost on Erev Shabbat, Parshat Tetzei. We are slowly coming to the end of Sefer Dvarim, the book of Deuteronomy. We're coming to a Parsha that's chock full of mitzvot. I think it's the Parsha with the greatest number of mitzvot. And it continues the portion that we studied last week of Parshat Shoftim. It's also coming towards the end of the summer. Many kids are going back to school next week. Many of the yeshivot have been able to create a hybrid model with kids are in school for some of the days and some days on Zoom and other situations. And we want to wish everybody a good start to the school year, a healthy start, both for everybody, for kids, for parents, for families, for friends, both physically, mentally, emotionally, and it should be as good a year as we can within the context of these very trying circumstances. So Parshat Ki Tetzei continues, as I said, Parshat Shoftim, and I want to continue a theme that Parshat Shoftim began. At the beginning of Parshat Shoftim, it talked about the judicial system and the legal system, making sure that the Torah says, tzedek, tzedek, tirdof. You have to make sure that there is justice and equity and righteousness in your society. And of course, the very famous comment, very constant comment of the Hasidic tradition, tzedek, tzedek, tirdof, that when you seek tzedek, you should also be doing it bitzedek. That anytime you seek out justice, it should also be done with justice and with righteousness. That the means that you use should always be ones that reflect the ultimate ends and the values that you hold dear. And don't compromise achieving justice by doing it in a way that's heavy-handed, that reflects inequality and doesn't reflect tzedek. Tzedek, tzedek tirdof. This week I want to continue another theme. In addition to the idea that justice has to be pursued with justice, there's also the idea that that which is legal and that which is just and that which is right, that which is normative, not only has to be pursued with justice, it has to be pursued with dignity to the other. And sometimes we do the right thing, but we are not sensitive enough to the dignity of others, especially when they come for help and when we need and we extend our hand in help. Of course, the Torah and Halakha want to make sure that it's done in the proper way. This week's Parsha has a few mitzvot that really highlight that. For example, the Torah in the middle of Parshat Ki Tetzei says the following: Lo yachbol rechaim varechev. If you're offering a loan to someone, and the Torah exhorts people to give loans and not to charge interest within the community of the nation, even though you might be entitled to, you should not be charging interest, because that can destroy a family, it can destroy a person, especially in an agrarian society rather than a mercantile society in which the Torah existed. And the Torah says, Lo yachbol rechaim varechev, ki nefesh hu chovel. If you're going to take collateral to ensure that the loan is paid back, you can take many things. You could take collateral, someone's this, someone's that, a watch, a this, a that, a piece of pottery, a painting. But don't take their millstone, which is what they used to. Every family would grind their own grain and make bread. You should take it. Ki nefesh hu chovel. You're taking away someone's life in a pawn. You remove that person's dignity, that the basic the basic stuff of life, they don't have. They don't have the opportunity to make their own flour. In that society, that they would have to go to someone else and borrow. It was undignified. It was a sense of being totally at wit's end. And then the Torah, a few psukim later, has other mitzvot in that context. The Torah says, Ki tasher b'reacha mashat me'uma. When you're making a loan to one of your neighbors, lo tavo el beito la'avot avoto, bachutz ta'amod. Va'ish asher ata noshe bo yotzei lecha et ha'avot hachutza. Very interesting halacha. Again, you're allowed to take a collateral, you're allowed to take a security if you made a loan, but the Torah says you have to stand outside. Again, there's a power dynamic, there's leverage. When you lend someone money, they feel indebted to you. As the says in Tanakh, Eved, ish love eved leish malve. The love feels like an eved, like a slave, a servant to the one who lent them money. They feel indebted, and an indebtedness can create a sense of dependency which undermines a person's own human dignity. They're tselem elokim. They're become abased. And the Torah says, when you lend money and you're taking a collateral, you don't have total leverage. You can't walk into that person's house and decide, number one, what to take as their for collateral. And number two, more importantly, there's a certain lack of dignity that you take away a person's privacy, that you can barge in and go in and take whatever you want, or even if you agree on what's to be taken as a collateral or as a security, that you can walk into another person's house and, so to speak, lord it over them. There's a tremendous amount of dignity being reflected here, that you have to stand outside. You have to respect the privacy, the Daled Amot, the 4 cubits of a person's home, and show them that even though they're dependent on you, even though they had to ask for a loan, they don't lose their human dignity, they don't lose their Tselem Elokim, they don't lose their brotherhood to you when they borrowed something. And the Torah continues, and the Torah says, V'im ish anihu lo tishkav ba'avoto. If a person is poor and they only have one cloak or one blanket, you can't take that as a pawn. You have to take something else. There has to be a semblance of dignity that remains even with the poorest of the poor. And number 3, Hashev tashiv lo et ha'avot. Every night, if you do take something that is used to sleep with, a blanket, you have to return him to him. Kivo hashemesh v'shachav b'salmato u'lechat yet tzedakah lifnei Hashem Elokecha. And then you'll be righteous in the eyes of God. Just to give money without a sense of recognizing the dignity of the other person, there's something lacking there. There's the lack of tzedakah in the tzedakah. There's a lack of righteousness in the righteousness. And the Torah later on will also talk about that you have to treat the person. You can't take certain things from a widow even when you have lent money. And this is an important principle, and I think it also is something that we should think about during these times as well. When we have people, some people have lost their livelihoods, other people, thank God, have kept their livelihoods. People have been very generous and are trying to extend help to other people. Again, to always think about how we do it, when we do it, in what way we do it, to make sure that if we have the opportunity, and not only the opportunity, but the obligation to do the mitzvah of chesed and do the mitzvah of tzedakah and helping out those who may have lost their jobs during these times, or helping out those who are in a difficult situation, they can't get out in terms of shopping and other things, to be able to do it with the most dignity possible. I constantly keep getting requests from Israel and from all other places for all these organizations for help. And again, it's interesting, and they're all doing great work, but it's interesting to me to notice that some of the organizations, they really do try to the best of their ability to ensure the dignity of the people that they take care of in terms of how they approach people and what they offer. And there's one organization that doesn't simply give people a package, here, take, but they offer it in a way, they give people cards and they can go and buy in the supermarket. Again, they can't buy liquor and they can't buy cigarettes and there's certain restrictions, but they can buy the basics, but they can choose. If they want papaya, they can get papaya. If they want mango, they can get mango. If they want this, they can get that. So that they are the ones who still control their destiny and some of their dignity. Again, always an important point to think about, especially when we're doing a tzedakah v'chesed, which is an important thing to think about. And it's a central value within Sefer Dvarim and becomes highlighted over and over again. Wish everybody a Shabbat Shalom and Mazel Tov to the Langer family. That's Roni got married this week, and some and others. Mazel Tov to everyone, and to those who had children, and hope to see everybody soon in person. Shabbat Shalom.